Yubikeys are another type of two-factor authentication, which basically means something you know, like a PIN or password, and something you have, a physical device like Yubikey or some other type of token, or Google Authenticator, something like that. The Yubikey functions like a USB keyboard. When you touch the button on here, it will output a one-time password, just like you're typing on your computer. There are several types. The normal Yubikey, which looks like the one I showed you, although that's the Neo. Nano, which is designed to basically, it can fit almost entirely in your USB slot. So if you want something, if you think you will use it primarily with one type or with one specific device, you could leave it in your device, although then that could possibly compromise security a little, because if your device is lost or stolen, your Yubikey would be in it also. Although that would also require someone to know what it is and what to do with it, but still. I don't personally use that one. I usually use the Neo, which it looks the same, but it also supports OpenPGP smart card applet, so which I plan on covering a little bit later. Basically, I use that along with GPG agent to basically take the place of SSH agent, so I can connect to servers using SSH with a subkey of my GPG key. So instead of the key being stored in a file on my computer, the key is on a Yubikey. And so I can carry that around with me.
And how can you access that? I mean, if you have all these keys in your Yubikey, right? And
Yeah.
for example, you lost that or it got stolen, how can one access that? Do you need a password to read the files, to open the device?
Yes, you set a PIN number, you set a PIN whenever you use it, and then it will require that PIN in order to use the key that's stored on your device.
Right.
And the only thing I've noticed with actually all of the GPG smart card implementations that I've used, because I also have a regular GPG smart card token. All of them, you can clear it even without the PIN, but that would destroy any keys that are on there. So it's not really a security issue, because all it could do is delete it.
Right.
Even on these, you can reset it without having the PIN, but you can't use it.
Access the files, right?
Yeah.
Keeps good.
And there's a Yubikey VIP, which works with used to be VeriSign, now it's owned by Symantec OTP system. And you can use that with things like eBay and PayPal that support that. If you want to do OTP with them, it's basically the same as, actually I do have. It is basically the same as a normal Yubikey, except it has the little VeriSign Symantec symbol on it, which means they pre-program it at the factory to support that system. But you can also use the second slot of the Yubikey on these to do either regular Yubikey or basically any of the types that they support. You can even program like a long static password in one of the slots. If you have some service you want to use that doesn't support OTP, you could program a password in here, and then instead of remembering that password, use that. I've never done that, but it is supported.
How many slots do you have in the Neo model, you know? Two?
All of them have 2 slots for regular YubiKey stuff. The Neo also the Neo is supposed to be able to communicate with, I believe, with Android phones. I've never tried that because I don't have an Android phone, but it's supposed to be able to.
Oh, great.
But the Neo, what it adds is the capability for different, they're based on Java card applets that you can load on the Neo, which is also how it does the PGP or GPG smart card functionality is through the Java card applets.
Fantastic.
I think I already kind of touched on this a little. I used to have my server set up where to connect to it via SSH, you can use the YubiKey instead of a password. Although that's not really that necessary to set up a lot of times because you can just use SSH keys, which I do that now using the GPG smart card. Using GPG agent, it will connect to SSH with a key based on that applet. Sudo, we do Fedora infrastructure currently requires either YubiKey or Google Authenticator. You can use regular SSH keys to connect to Fedora infrastructure servers, but for sudo you have to use either YubiKey or Google Authenticator. We started that a year or 2 ago. They use PAM-OTP, which connects to an application on the fast servers, which can basically determine if the password you provided is either Google Authenticator or YubiKey, and it will validate it appropriately. And it can be used as a GPG smart card. So, for example, if I needed to do it comes up enter my PIN because it's using the SSH key through, or it's using an SSH key through GPG agent. So now I'm connected to Fedora people. So then if I push the YubiKey to do the regular OTP, then now that works. And that's all. That part is using the regular OTP through, regular two-factor with the regular YubiKey OTP. The connecting to the server uses GPG agent. SSH uses GPG agent. And you can also, the only drawback that I have really found to using the GPG smart card on the YubiKey is YubiKey only supports using a 2048-bit key. And some people want to use larger keys. So what I have done is I have my primary GPG key stored on a regular GPG smart card, which these can handle up to 4096-bit keys. which is the maximum that GPG will let you generate unless you patch it. And I have a subkey that is stored on my Yubikey Neo. And you can use basically, well, first, does anyone have any questions so far?
Okay, I have one, but I will ask you again.
Okay.
So,
So to use a YubiKey with anything with Fedora, you have to run a program called Fedora Burn YubiKey, which will get installed if you install the Fedora-Packager, which will also install a lot of other programs. So the -S2 tells it I want to program it in the second slot, which will leave the first slot set up with, oh, I forgot to tell it the username. Which will leave the first slot set up like, the default is to have the first slot set up to use with Yubiko, which is the manufacturer's validation service. You can run your own YubiKey server if you would like, that will assign the keys and will validate the YubiKeys yourself, which is what Fedora does. They run our own YubiKey server. So then basically Fedora Burn YubiKey is a script that gets a key out of fast, and then it passes that to YK Personalize, which is the program that actually writes to the YubiKey, and it basically just tells you what it's going to do, and then it's on there. So then it generates a OTP based on the key that FAST just provided. To use the GPG smart card, just a second. The instructions I follow, it's not exactly that easy. Well, it kind of is, because Clint Savage, aka Herlo on IRC, he came up with very good instructions on how to set up the GPG smart card ability, and that is on his GitHub page. He also has both the files that you will need, GPG agent wrapper, the GPG agent config, GPG config, and X session, and bash RC that you will need. And then he has instructions both if you use the regular GPG smart card or the YubiKey Neo.
oh man.
Oh, wrong way. So then there are instructions here that tell how to set it up with GNOME shell and GPG agent. And I found whenever I've set it up on my laptops, and it seems to be basically exactly what's on there is what you need to do, and it should set everything up so that it will come up when you go to the commands in GPG to use the card. And you can also, if you really want security, you can generate a key on the card. There are two different options, basically. You can generate your GPG key on the card, or you can generate it on your computer and then move it to the card. I choose to do it that way because then I can make a backup of my GPG key in case I want to use a different card, or the software on the Yubikey, the OpenPGP applet, you can actually upgrade it because it's still kind of a work in progress. Yubico is adding new features. Like, until recently, it did not support copying keys to the card. It only wanted you to generate the keys on the card. So you can delete the applet off of your Yubikey Neo and then put a new version on there, which would require you to have a backup of your key, or you wouldn't be able to use it anymore. So GPG card edit is kind of the basic command, which this is a blank Yubikey Neo that I haven't used before. So you can set your name or preferred language. Pretty much all of this doesn't really matter, the name and language and things like that. So if you go to admin and then generate, if you hit yes here, it will actually not generate the key on the card. It will generate it on the computer, save a backup, and then it will move it to the card. So if you want to actually generate the key completely on the card where it's never on your computer, you can go to no. Since this is just test, it will expire in 1 day. And all of this works like normal generating a key with GPG.
The maximum is 2 bits.
Yes, on the Yubikey Neo it is. If you order, which I prefer these to put my main key on because they can store more. It can store larger keys. These can store up to 4096-bit keys, but the Yubikey only supports 2048 because of something with the Java card implementation is what Yubiko said. Does anyone have any other questions?
Okay, after burning with Yubikey, can I reset it?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you can re-burn it again. I don't know of a way to specifically just wipe it, but you can override it with another key.
Yeah, but even if I don't have the password to
Yes.
open that,
I believe there is a way you can protect it if you don't want to override it without it. You can set another password to protect the configuration.
supervisor or something.
Yeah, something like that. I have never done that because I think it's from what I understand, that's mainly done in situations like some companies that don't want people to be able to mess up their key.
Right.
So, but you can assign like I believe it's called a configuration password, and then it will not let you change it. But by default, unless you do something special, you can change it.
Thanks.
How can I get a smart card? Which one do you use?
I like to use, I use both. I have the Yubikey Neo, which you can order off of yubico.com, YUBICO. And there's also these, which are actually in two parts. The Gemalto Shell Token, it's called, And then the smart card, which with these you order it with the, would need to order the one that has the SIM cutout, and it's cut out the size of a SIM card. And you put in there, and that's what actually stores the information. The rest is just a smart card reader. Or I also have, mainly I had ordered it whenever we were we're working on adding some of this to the Fedora documentation is working on adding some of that to the security guide. So I had ordered you can also use full-size smart, they also make full-size GPG smart cards, which are, and the little ones that go in the little token are the same as this, except they're just cut out. And these, there are all kinds of readers. I like this little reader because it folds up. And so these basically you use the same way as the Yubikey Neo for the GPG capability. It still uses GPG card edit to do pretty much everything. And you can also do GPG card. So now that I have a key on my, after I put it back in. So now that I have a key on there, I can also do GPG card status. I tried it too quickly. And that will tell me the fingerprint of the key that's on the card, which it looks like the default was it generated a key for each, a signature key, encryption key, and authentication, which authentication is the one that is used for SSH. But you can also do things like, I mean, basically you can do anything with a smart card in GPG that you can do with GPG just by itself. You can sign other keys with the key that's on your card. You can sign files, encrypt things, decrypt things. So that's why it has 3 different slots, because you can make a key for each purpose, or you can put the same key in all 3 slots if you have your key set so that its capabilities are signature, encryption, and authentication. You can copy the key to each of those slots on there. Does anyone have any other questions or anything you'd like to know about this?
It'd be cool to get this on, like an article on the Fedora magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah, look.
We were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is something I think can be good for, I mean, even for people that, I mean, even for people in Fedora infrastructure, because most people, I believe, still use their SSH key as a key in a file on their computer, which is not that bad if you have a passphrase. But still, having it on a token which can only be used, you can't read the key off of here. So basically, even if someone hacked your computer, they could not get your SSH key because you can't read the key off of here once it's on there. That's why I personally choose to generate my key on the computer and then copy it to a card. That way I can make a backup, especially on here, because if you want to upgrade the OpenPGP applet, you have to erase the old one first, so you lose any keys that are stored in it.
So at Infra team we have started using Yubikeys. Except for a few servers, we use either Yubikeys or Google Authenticator.
For all of the servers
For
ran.
most of the servers, not all.
Okay. Yeah.
Bastion and all still have plain SSH keys.
Well, for sudo, you
For sudo, yes.
yes. For sudo, you have to use either YubiKey or Google Authenticate. For SSH, you can use regular keys if you want. As long as, well, for Fedora infrastructure, you have to set up stuff in your SSH config to proxy through Bastion to get to a lot of the servers. But that's just our implementation of it. But for me personally, I use my keys that are set up in FAST that I use to connect to Fedora servers are my YubiKey Neo and my other smart card. I don't have a regular SSH key set up in FAST, so the only way I can connect is with one of the two tokens. And to find out what you need to put, why does it not? To find out what I would need to put in the SSH config, do SSH-add-L, and that will output your public key in the format that you would need to put in an authorized keys file. Or if you just want to see what keys you have on a smart card, you can do lowercase l, and it will just output the fingerprint of your SSH key, which will tell you what key you have on that smart card. And so using and like I was saying, you can also do things like it would be helpful if I told it which key to use. So then if I'm trying to sign a test file with my new test GPG key, it'll pop up like it did when I tried to SSH earlier and wants to know the PIN. And then it will sign it using the key on the card. And then it signs that file. And you can also, if people encrypt things to you, you can decrypt it with the key on the card. Basically, keys on a card you can use to do basically anything you can with a normal GPG key. And there is, if you don't want to do like Fedora has done with PAM OTP, because that involves a little extra setup, which that's how we can do Google Authenticator and YubiKey both at the same time. There is a PAM Yubikeys, which I used a while back, and you can use that to do either connecting via SSH if you want to use a regular YubiKey OTP, or you can use it for sudo. Yeah.
This GPG stuff works with all versions of Yubikeys?
No, it works with the YubiKey Neo.
Okay, because I have two, but those the first ones.
Yeah, which even if you go to buy a Neo, you have to make sure you buy the YubiKey Neo, because they still sell the regular YubiKey, because a lot of people don't care about the extra functionality in the Neo. But because with these, which are the regular YubiKey, you can still do regular OTPs. And these can also do a couple other types of OTP, but not the GPG stuff. The YubiKey They ship both out of the US and out of,
Sweden.
okay. I was thinking it was somewhere around there. They ship out of those two. The other GPG smart cards, they come from a store in Germany, but they will ship internationally, so it doesn't matter where you live. It just takes a little while for them to get there because they send them registered mail. So it took me several weeks, I think, to get them. Anything else? No? If not, I think that's about all I have.
Nick, do we have the setup document, setup process documented in the Fedora week for Yubikeys and this kind of stuff?
I believe we do for using them with Fedora infrastructure. I don't believe we have it really documented yet as far as the GPG. At the documentation FAD that we had several months ago, we were working on getting it into the Fedora security guide.
Oh, yeah.
We were, Jared Smith and Eric Christensen, Sparks, and I were working on documenting it for the Fedora security guide.
Is it there?
I am not sure if you would,
Let me see.
yeah, if you would to check. I know we wrote some, but I'm not sure if it ever got pushed out yet.
Yes, let me see.
But we were working on writing up an article on how to use Yubikey Neo in Fedora.
I don't think it is.
Most of what you need to know if you want to use the Yubikey Neo with GPG is on, what's the address? GitHub/Herlo, I believe.
Yeah.
Yes, github.com/Herlo/SSH GPG smart card config. Or if you just go to github.com/Herlo, I'm sure you'll see that repo on there. And that pretty much walks you through all of the setup you need in order to be able to use GPG agent for SSH.
The smart card is available everywhere or is only available in the US?
Actually, which one?
The one you use?
The Yubikey one, or the one that supports the bigger keys?
The bigger keys is the one.
It is available. It is shipped from Germany, but they will ship worldwide. Because I know whenever I had to order it, I had to get it, and they sent it to me from Germany to the U.S. But yes, it's available to order anywhere. It's a site, search for kernel concepts is the one that offers the GPG smart cards that support bigger keys, which they both have the full-size smart card version and a smart card with the cutout to be SIM card size that will fit in the small USB tokens. And they both are the exact same thing, they just are different size. They both support the 4,000-bit keys.
When you run the GPG command, the GPG home directory is pointing to the card.
There is still some stuff in your GPG directory, but like if I do GPG list secret keys, which would normally list all of the secret keys that I have in my secring.gpg file, like this is the key that I just made. And you notice on here, that one doesn't say anything after sec. That's because that key is on my hard drive. This one has a little bracket thing. That means that the key is not actually on my computer. The key is on a smart card. And that tells what card serial number it is on. That way, if you're trying to remember what key you need to use, you can look at the back of the Yubikey and it tells you what the serial number is. So that way you know which one, because that way it will tell me if it's on that card or my other card. And this one is because actually with my main key, I have the primary key on one of the other smart cards because it's a 4096-bit key which won't fit on the Yubikey. And then I have that key in all three slots in my Yubikey, and then I have those on another regular smart card. So that's why all of those are. And those old subkeys which I've revoked now are just on my computer in case I need to decrypt something from before. So that's how you can tell if a key is on a smart card or on your home directory. You would still have the secring.gpg file, which is normally where it stores all of your secret keys, but it basically will just hold pointers that say that key is not really here, it's in a smart card. Anything? Oh, yeah.
And what about Yubikey and Pamstack? Programmable authentication method.
There is a PAM module called PAM Yubico, and it will validate Yubikey OTPs if you install that. In Fedora infrastructure, we use PAM OTP, which basically is kind of a front end that validates both Google Authenticator and Yubikey OTPs. But there is a PAM Yubico, which is actually developed by Yubico, the company that developed Yubikey, that you can use just directly through PAM if you don't want to go through PAM OTP to do both. Anything else?
Key signing tomorrow.
Is what?
The key signing for tomorrow.
Yes. We're planning on having a GPG key signing tomorrow at, I believe it's 3 p.m. If you're interested and if you haven't let me know yet, please let me know you're interested soon, because I will probably be sending Miro the key list soon so he can get it printed so we can have a list of the fingerprints so people can check off people's fingerprints and ID at the key signing. It looks like we have quite a few people. When I opened the list of fingerprints, I believe it was like 6 pages long. But that is because I basically just did GPG --fingerprint with everybody's key. So some that have a lot of UIDs take up a lot of space. But yeah, we have, as you can see, we have quite a few people signed up. Anything else? If not, I think we're done.
Okay.
Well, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.